Hi everybody, this is Pam Caughey, and I'm going to be continuing my series here. Everything you see to my right here is done, and so I've got this huge sheet of Arches oil paper just taped or tacked to the wall. The pieces that are done are still kind of all on one sheet, and I'm going to cut them apart as I mount them on panel. And so I hope you enjoy this series. It's ongoing, and I found a spark. If you look at under the live tab in my YouTube channel, there's all like live on Mondays, and on episode 11, I believe it is, I talk about spokes and sparks. I draw a diagram, and I talk about how we as artists have many directions that we might go at any given time. Every day we might try a different, direction. But if we do something on any given day and we're like really excited, it becomes a spark. And what to me is it's a spark that has somehow captivated you. You're passionate about it, and you actually want to explore it more. Instead of just one of these and one of those, you're like, no, I want to try this in a different color, or I want to try this in a different format, or whatever it might be. And so with that, I found a spark. As I started to do these tall and skinnies about maybe a year ago, I did my first one, and that kind of was a spoke that led to a spark. And then this is Chroma Series 2, so I'm calling it Chroma Series because it's all about color, basically. And I'm balancing warm versus cool, thick versus thin paint, saturation versus desaturation. And the palette I'm using is Phthalo Blue, Cad Red, Indian Yellow, Transparent Orange, White, and Black for the most part. I've kept that same palette because this is an exploration of how one paint, whether it's transparent or opaque, work to wet, which is something in cold wax and oil, and that's what I'm using. I've not really done a series based on working wet into wet. And so for me, it's like an exploration. I didn't know what was going to happen, but when I started to see the paint slide over the other and see how the oil paint that was transparent kind of slid over the opaque, and the opaque that went over the transparent had a very different reaction, how they mix and blend on the paper, that's all new. And I try to make these, like, I would love to do one of these a day because they are, again, under that experimental umbrella. And it just means like what's going to happen today. And each time I try to do something different that I didn't do the day before. So today, because I accidentally squirted out too much Phthalo Blue, probably because I didn't have my full cup of coffee, I have a lot of it. And one thing I haven't tried yet is, well, what if I start with Phthalo Blue? In the other ones, I've really been starting with Indian Yellow for them. This time, I'm probably going to start with Phthalo Blue because I have so much of it. But I want to also mix it with like grays to gray it down. As you guys know who've used it, it's a very intense color. Okay, so hope you enjoy what I'm up to. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up with a like. Please subscribe to my channel. Really appreciate it if you do. And just enjoy being here, and I enjoy having you. So here we go. So first off, I know you can't see my palette, but I'm just going to talk about what I'm doing here. I have a ton of this Phthalo Blue. I don't normally put this down first, but I'm going to do it on this one right here. My tape is kind of coming off. This is a light colored tape. It's not the really nice artist tape. It's just something cheaper that I found, but it is at least not that blue color. So very intense, as you can see, and very dark. So I'm just observing as I go. And I'm keeping it pretty thin to begin with so that I can continue to work wet into wet. I have not really started with this really dark value, so that's something new. Now, Phthalo Blue is a transparent, so yes, I can see down to the white paper. I'm not sure if I'll do the entire band starting this way. It's always nice to have some variety, so even though I've got a lot of this color, I'll bring it down. And then I'm scraping a lot of it back. And you can kind of see that by how much I have left on my Messermeister. This is called a Messermeister, and it's a kitchen tool. It's a bowl scraper, and I got this on Amazon. You can probably get it at some kitchen stores, but not in my town. My town is way too small. So just making this really nice and as thin as I can go. That's how I can get away with working wet into wet. If it gets really gloppy and thick, then I'm going to be really limited what I can do working, wet into wet. All right, so I'm going to maybe try that first and then set down this Messermeister paint. And what should I do next? I'm going to take some Indian yellow, and I always like to have some of them where I'm going to go over, start up here on the blue, and that obviously is going to look different than when it hits the white paper. It's turning green, as you would expect. Blue and yellow make green. Get all the way to the edge and come down and just see what happens. So yes, it's got a beautiful deep foresty green. Very nice. It's subtle though. The value is not really changing because it's acting like a glaze, but I do like how subtle that is. I'm going to bring it over this way, and obviously there's some mixing that's happened. And I'm always curious, like, what is that going to look like when they mix on the paper? So I'm really just here to observe what is happening. I feel like that's really my only role as an artist, is to show up, put paint down, and observe. And then make choices about, do you like what's happening? Do you want to change what's happening? Now I've turned the tool going horizontally, and if I want to really mix that, then I'm going to use my tool like this. This was not mixed, and this is mixed. Your unique artistic journey deserves personalized guidance. Book a free call today, and let's turn your passion into success. See link in description. Right, Frida? I'm really mixing it to get to this green. So cool, warmer, and going back to cool again. So I already know there's going to be, so far at least, a predominance of cool. And I'm going to scrape off my Messermeister, which I sometimes will do if I'm trying to come in from the sides, because, this Messermeister has a very wide edge. And if I want this to be all the way to the edge of the tape, then I need to kind of use another tool just to get that filled in. And I'm going to use this tool as well, the smaller silicone. They call it a silicone brush or a color shaper. I usually get mine at Dick Blick, so that may not stay there, but right now it's pretty thick. So I can use this again to make it thinner, but when I do this thinner layer here, I'm really just trying to even the paint out and thin it out a little bit. Okay, so that has a certain quality to it. It's transparent, dark, going dark green, and then there's some patterning in here, both vertically and I guess horizontally, and then it gets into a very grayed down green. All right, so I'm making observations here, and now I'm going to go in with my grays. I've got a lot of saturation on the top, at least it feels relatively saturated. Cleaning off my Messermeister on a paper towel, getting most of the paint off, not all of it. And also good for cleaning off a silicone tool quickly. So I use very little Gamsol when I clean my tool. So like here's a silicone tool, silicone brush, and I'm just going to use a paper towel. Now I could have cooking oil on it, but for now I don't need to get every bit off. I just want to get most of that paint off. Also you can use wipes. Those work really well. So I've just cleaned off that tool. Good enough. This one was coming feral here, so I had to put glue, and now the glue is coming undone. Sometimes that happens. Okay, I move into something different. Let's see. I've got a very nice, I've got a blue here, got a blue-green here, and what do I want? I've got a mid-tone desaturated blue, got a very light green. I'm going to go back in with some Indian yellow, I think, just for harmony, because there's a lot of blue up there, and I need some warmth permeating through the grays that I'm about ready to put on. So I'm thinking a little ways ahead, but not really thinking, just kind of reacting to what I'm thinking I want to see. So I'm actually going to put quite a bit of this down here. So just bring it down a ways. I was watching like how the length of this, and then the length of this, and then the height of that, I should say the height of this, trying to vary. So like right now it's about like this. So just to keep things changing, I'm going to bring this down, and I'll probably just bring it all the way down to the bottom. Why not? It'll get covered over with something. I just don't know what yet, but I know I'm going to be coming in with a lot of grays. So This gives something for the grays to either mix with or let show through. There's a little bit of mixing on the edge. I'm going to come over to this green just to see what will happen, and not much is happening. That's fine, just an observation. Okay, so there's that. Now I can come in with some grays. I like to do a wide variety of grays, so I might apply them. I could do the Messermeister. I could choose that. Let's see, what else? I'm going to come in with kind of this very desaturated blue-green, because I don't have anything really high value yet, and I'm just going to start like right about here and see what happens. I'm changing the value, and that should feel pretty at this point. Now I can make some areas thicker than others. Like this is thicker, which makes it a great area to create some texture. I like this uneven edge right now. I kind of like the way that looks. Now I'm going to do a color change, which is really just another gray. Again, letting that yellow underneath show through a bit. And here's a related blue-green. It's just a little darker, which I pre-mixed just a few seconds ago. I come up from the bottom and kind of just see what happens. So then I can come in. Do I want an irregular top like that, or do I want to even that out? It's hard to tell where you're level, but I'm just guessing. And if I want it to be level and back, everything seems to be tilting down. So let's fix that. Fill in that little gap. It doesn't seem straight up close, but not bad. And I can tell this one's really kind of way off. So let me just straighten that one out. That's what happens when you're really up close and you can't really tell. Let's see here. Better, but still not level. You guys can see this better than I can. I'm trying to straighten that out a little bit, because like when it's done, it really bothers me when things are on a slight tilt. So that's why I have to really stand back, see where we're going. Better, not perfect. I'm not looking for perfection, but I just want it to be relatively in the right ballpark, not perfection. When I hang my paper though, I mean at that point, sometimes I have a level out just to make sure that it's, I got my measurements right and that. Okay, so there's another gray. Now what do we want? Don't have any red yet. Gotta have my red. So take this color off here. Another gray, it's more blue. Okay, it's a very intense phthalo blue gray that I'm going to be putting on there in a second. It's quite vibrant, but then I'm going to knock it back. So first, I'll put it on, and actually I don't want a whole lot of this. Let's see if I'm sort of not really straight there. I really want to draw it up over this other one. If any of you are printmakers, I know there's a name for this when like one layer slips over the other due to its, oily base, or like if it's transparent, or if it's an opaque, and I just don't know what that term is. So if any of you are a printmaker and know that term, I'd really like to know what that is. I'll leave some green up there. Again, just changing the nature of the gray. A little bit more interesting. So just observing what's happening here. Give it a little texture, and it's also mixing. Here's a nice Indian yellow being revealed underneath there. So I've got a lot of similarly sized shapes going on, but I'm going to change that in a second. Here comes the blue from the bottom again. Maybe leave a little bit of that Indian yellow there, but they will seem kind of connected now. Let's see if I can get some of that Indian yellow showing through. Feels more continuous, but I don't think I want quite that much showing, so come down like this. So there's some warm. There's this warm, there's that warm. But I'm thinking that, this blue is kind of disconnected from, I'm going to put it up here, just for variety thickness. And then I'm going to take a tool. A lot of you are familiar with these tools. These come from the hardware store. in the tile section, like people who lay tiles, and they're really inexpensive. And as I started using these on these tall and skinny paintings, I realized, well, I don't always want to use the full width of one of these or one of these. And then each side has a different gauge of, how close together these marks are. So my husband helped me, and he cut these with his saw and got a nice clean edge. And now they're all different widths. So you guys can try that and see if you like that versatility. Like this little guy here is cool because it's got like just 5 little teeth on the top and 2 oddball sizes below. It's fun to mix and match what you've got. Okay, so I'm going to take this funky tool and see what happens. This is the one that has some different edges on there, or different sizes. So just doing some mark making, and anytime's a good time for that, I think. I'm gonna go this way, reveal some stuff underneath, and step back and see if I've done that anywhere close to straight. All right, not too bad. I'm gonna take some of this transparent orange now. Not sure I've even used this yet. Probably not, or not much of it, if at all. Okay, I've got my Messermeister full of that on the edge. And again, it's just kind of a question of skimming over the top, not knowing what's going to happen. I'm going to come down here and just see what happens. I want these complex colors, which really, this is kind of like a glaze, but not really, because normally with the glaze, it has to be completely dry underneath. So this is very much related to a glaze, but done in a very different way, because obviously the paint is wet. And so you can't expect the very same result. But again, I'm just serve. That's my role here. And it's up to me to decide, what do I like? What do I want to keep? What do I want to change? Now here it's getting a little thick, but I like that glowy, the effect of the colors are interacting. They're not very predictable. I'm going to just maybe grab a little bit of this section here, just out of curiosity, and see what happens. That's cool. Getting that transparent orange over just the Indian yellow just made it more complex. To get it over here, I try to use this one tool as long as I can. And there's some color complexity. It's just a real gray. I'm going to come up here and try to level this out a bit. Now I can also start to use a mask, which is fun. I can also, lift most of what I just put on there. So minimal of that transparent orange. Right.